How are you doing, everybody? This is my WWE The Bash review. First of all, I'll just say I thought it was pretty average. There was some really good stuff. There was some stuff I didn't particularly care for. So yeah, I'll just go straight into the matches. We started off with Tommy Dreamer, Jack Swagger, Christian, Mark Henry in the Championship Scramble match. I'm not really a big fan of this type of match, but I thought this was, pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot, even though it wasn't quite 15 minutes. It was fell a bit short of that. I thought Mark Henry was quite impressive, for what he usually can do. Tommy Dreamer, botched a bit of stuff at the start when he came in, but overall was pretty good. Everyone looked really good, especially around the end with the series of near falls. I saw Mark Henry actually jump over and do a flip, well, not flip quite, but he was Irish whipped into the steps and actually jumped over them. I was like, whoa, he can jump. But yeah, everyone played their part pretty well, and it was an entertaining opener. So 3 stars for that. The next match was probably the match of the night for me. Rey Mysterio versus Chris Jericho in a mask versus title match. The past two matches they'd had, were really good, and this match was also really good. And one of the things I liked about it is they took stuff that had happened in past matches, specific moves, things that happened, and built on them. Instead of Jericho falling for the same 619 and West Coast pop type dealie, he countered it. And the same thing with Rey Mysterio. He was countering the spinning torture rack, and all that kind of stuff. Jericho ripped off the mask. Rey Mysterio was wearing a second mask, so Rey Mysterio didn't have that problem as he did in past matches. And I thought that was really good. And the match itself was just really high paced. The crowd was really hot for it, and I really enjoyed it. So 4 stars for that. Next we had Dolph Ziggler versus the Great Khali. I wasn't entirely sure why this was on pay-per-view, but it was no count-out and no disqualification match. But Dolph Ziggler worked really hard to try to get a decent match out of this, or out of the Great Khali. Great Khali being as limited as he is, but Dolph Ziggler was really working hard, doing lots of stuff, working the knee. He had some psychology in it, but he was also really active, getting chairs and jumping off the stuff, and jumping off the apron onto Khali's. Just working really hard to try to get something out of it. Of course, it ended with Kane coming in, and I thought that was silly, I guess. And Dolph Ziggler picking up the win. 1 3/4 for that. Kane, I mean, they really don't ever have anything good for Kane, do they? He's just a guy who's there, and they thought, oh well, we got Dolph Ziggler versus Great Khali. Let's just throw Kane in there. Then that'll be Kane's return. I didn't entirely get it. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe it was just shit. Then we had what was supposed to be the Colognes versus Legacy for the Unified WWE Tag Team Championship. And Teddy Long had been told earlier in the night that he had to do something to shake things up by Vince McMahon, so he came out, and Edge wanted a match previously as well, and so did Chris Jericho, and he added Chris Jericho and Edge as a tag team to making a triple threat tag title match. And it was really good. The Colognes and the Legacy worked really well together, and they were trying. Obviously, the story was they were trying to stop Edge and Chris Jericho from getting into the match because they wanted it to just be between those two teams. Of course, Edge ended up picking up the win with not really a blind tag, but tagged himself in, which caused Khali to get the lung blower onto Cody Rhodes, and then Edge got in and speared Carlito, and they won the tag titles, which was really cool. It actually seems like they might care about the tag titles by putting 2 main eventers in the tag team title picture. Then we had 3 stars for that. Good stuff. Then we had McCool versus Melina for the WWE Women's Championship. This match was lackluster to me. I mean, a few of the matches that Melina's had on TV have been a lot better than this. It just struck me as a TV match they'd thrown on pay-per-view with some extra time. The crowd wasn't into it. I wasn't into it. McCool's finisher I don't particularly like. When AJ does it, it's better than that. McCool does it, I just don't get into it. It's actually smashing the face into the ground. So yeah, I don't know. 1.5 stars for that. That's as much as I can give it. I was just not particularly happy with it. Then we had Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. This match wasn't anything too spectacular. It was good, but I expected a lot more from these two. I thought they usually work pretty well together, but the story of it was, you know, Jeff Hardy hit. Oh, there was one moment where Jeff Hardy hit the twist of fate, went for the swanton, and Punk just sat up. He didn't roll out of the way. He just sat up, and Jeff missed him by what must have been half an inch. And I thought if Jeff had been over to the right a little bit, he would have landed on the top of CM Punk's head, like broken his neck or something. But it looked really good coming out. And then he finally did it to Punk, and Punk was too close to the rope, so the false finish, and the crowd was going nuts. And then Punk went for the go to sleep, and Jeff Hardy elbowed him in the face. And this was the bit I liked most about the match: elbowed him in the face, got an injured eye, and then Punk, not being able to see, kicked the referee and ended in a DQ finish. Of course, the thing is, I don't understand how Jeff Hardy can still remain so likable to a lot of fans. I just, you know, Punk did cash in Money in the Bank, yeah, and it was like a shitty thing to do, but the whole thing is, with the angle is, Punk isn't necessarily the bad guy, he's just the smart guy, and him with getting the eye damage, you don't know if he did it on purpose, or, you know, he did it to retain the title. And then you have Jeff Hardy just attacking him. I'm like, that's not really a very face thing to do. He just makes him seem like a hot-headed asshole. So I'm really not a big fan of Jeff Hardy, because he just looks like a total wank in the angle. And Punk, you know, Punk is being made to look kind of like a bitch because Jeff Hardy keeps attacking him and he never fights back. But then, you know, it might be a swerve. Jeff Hardy might be turning heel. Punk might just have enough of Jeff Hardy and turn heel. So yeah. Then we had John Cena versus The Miz, and I think this was, they were kind of having a go at the internet, because The Miz was constantly saying what the internet was saying about John Cena: he can't wrestle, he can't do this, he can't do that. And in the match, John Cena actually did some technical wrestling at the start, and I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like Bret Hart-esque technical wrestling. It was just some pretty simple basics of wrestling, and he did it perfectly acceptable. And you could tell the way he's just looking at the fans. He was kind of having a go at people who've had to go at him for not being able to wrestle by actually wrestling. Of course, he's a brawler, so he shouldn't be doing technical wrestling, but, you know, it doesn't matter, because whatever. But, you know, The Miz was made to look like a bitch, and you know, some people have been upset with this, but I'm not really, because it was kind of the payoff that was happening with The Miz constantly calling John Cena out and John Cena ignoring him. That was going to be the payoff. You know, John Cena just going, alright, we'll have a match, and then just beating him like a bitch and getting The Miz out of the way. But I mean, if The Miz shows up on Raw the next night and says, you know, you won because of this, and then said he's 8-0, then he'll probably get even more hate than what he was before by just being even more of a dickhead. You know, just flying in the face of common sense. So yeah, Punk versus Jeff Hardy, I'll give it 3 stars, and John Cena versus The Miz, 2, I guess. Yeah, 2. I don't see why not. I can't think of anything else. It was pretty just standard tag team match for me. And then the main event was Randy Orton versus Triple H in the 3 stages of Hell match for the WWE Championship, in a match I didn't particularly care for. This match was quite disappointing, much like their WrestleMania match. You know, the first match was a standard match, then Falls Count Anywhere, then a stretch match. It was basically just a stretch match, because Triple H got himself DQ'd with a chair shot to Randy Orton's head 5 minutes into the match, then beat him up with a chair for a bit, and then pinned him on the outside of the ring. They didn't brawl around the arena, so there's no point calling it Falls Count Anywhere match, so I didn't get it. And then they just had a stretcher match, and it ended with interference from Legacy. I didn't particularly like the match itself. I mean, the stretch bit was okay, there's fine stuff with it, but it didn't really captivate me. I found it quite bland, like that match in WrestleMania, so I'll give it 2 3/4, and the event as a whole I'll probably give 6.5, because you did have Mysterio versus Jericho, which is a really good match, and a few other good matches, but nothing spectacular. So thanks for watching, goodbye.